www.jedensvět.cz Pořádá Člověk v tísni.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm really happy that I have Ondřej Moravec here with me, because platform wouldn't be as it is without One World and our beautiful partnership. It is going on since 7 years now. And we are also happy to invite guests together. So that's how we managed to have Kim Longinotto here this year. So I hand the word to Ondřej to tell us more about the masterclass we are going to have, and thank you for coming once again.
Yeah, hello as well. I just briefly would like to tell you how we decided to invite Kim, because as it's 20th anniversary this year of One World, and we said that we want to invite some guests whose films were at the beginning of the festival, or which came through our festival for all the time. And so obviously it were the films of Kim Longinotto. So we decided, okay, so we want to celebrate our anniversary with somebody really, really nice, somebody who we really like, and so. Yeah. And so the first choice was quite clear, and it was Kim. So we decided to create a short retrospective of her. So next to the masterclass, you will be able to see 3 of her films. So today is the screening of Dreamcatcher, so you are welcomed on the screening as well. And where? It's in Kino Ponrepo. So yes, join us after that. And now I like to invite Kim, so welcome.
Okay, so, all right. Oh, well, it's lovely you're all here. And how I thought we would do this, I'll show a clip first, because you don't want to listen to me talking too much. And then we'll do it together, that if there's anything you want to talk about, then you say to me, and then I'll ask Tomasz to show a clip that will work for it. So maybe that will be a good way to start, because I don't know what your ideas are, who you are, or whether you're filmmakers, or what you want to get out of this. So I'll try and do the best I can to make this good for you, as possible. Okay, so the first clip I'm going to show is a really, really old film that I made. And the reason I like this clip is because it's what's quite interesting that happens when you're making a film. The person that is quite in a weak position in a family or in a situation becomes stronger if they're working on the film. So this film was about my friend Safa Fatih, and we went back to her country, which is Egypt. And her father had just died. By the way, do tell me if I speak too quickly, because I can speak slower. I'm so impressed that you can all speak English, I can't tell you. It's brilliant. Anyway, her father had just died, and she's going back home for the first time. She's been living away from home, and everything has changed. So because her father's died, her brother becomes the head of the family. So he takes over, even though he's 1 year younger than my friend. And what was interesting was that Safa said she'd never really talked to her mother properly. But because we were making a film, her mother started to tell her about her life, which she never would have done if we hadn't been making the film. So she talks about her marriage, which is something, I mean, can you imagine saying to your mum, "Mum, what was your marriage like?" when you're standing in the kitchen? I would never have dared, I wouldn't even thought of it. But her mother starts telling her about her marriage and how she came to be married. And then after that, there's a little scene that you'll see, which happens straight after, which to me seems to kind of illustrate the conversation that the mother's just had with us. So, and I like that. I don't really enjoy films where you have lots of interviews, but this one, it wasn't really an interview. We were sitting with her mother. She'd just been doing her very early morning prayers, 5 in the morning, and then we were just sitting there, and she started, and Safa said, "Mum, you know, Dad's just died, and how are you feeling?" And her mum started to talk about her life. So, and when we stopped, she was very upset that we'd stopped. She didn't want us to stop. She really enjoyed. She said, "Nobody's ever asked me about my life before." So, and you'll see that at breakfast she's completely quiet. And the reason I love the breakfast scene, which is that we went from the prayers to the breakfast, is it was exactly like the breakfast that I used to have. Any meal that I had with my family was absolutely like that. So I really identified with it. And I sort of knew what was going to happen immediately. So anyway, so we show the first clip, Tomasz. And Christina's going to turn the lights out.
I hadn't talked to my mother about my father since he died.
أول مرة أشوفه في اسكندرية بعد ما روحت. لا مش في أوضة النوم، أنا كنت هتلبسني عمة نعمات في أوضة النوم، ويعني رسينا في البيت في الظهر، رحنا ما لقيناش في البيت، كان لما يجيب أكل من المطعم ومش عارفة إيه، ويجيب ورد ويجيب المصوراتي، فجاب الأكل، يبقى فخر قفل علينا باب الأوضة قبل ما ياكلوا، ما كانش شافنا لغاية الوقت ده، وكالوا ودخلوا على الصالون واحنا طلعنا كنا، قفل على روحهم باب الصالون واحنا طلعنا كنا، وبعد ما كنا بقى شطفت ولبستني عمة نعمات وزوجتني لما لغاية المغرب واحنا مع بعض في الشقة ومش شايفين بعض. في الاخر قال لي: يا فخري هتبقى في بيتي ما اشوفهاش برضه ولا ايه؟ قال لي: يا اخي انت قلت اشوفها، حد قال لك لا؟ يبقى دخل خدني من اوضه النوم، طلعنا على الصالون قعدنا، ولما تصور
شعورك ايه اول ما شفتيه اول مره بالشكل ده؟
كنت فرحانه.
وهو كان فرحان؟
يعني قال كنت عامله ان الحياه ان انا مثلا انام زي ما انا عايزه واقوم وقت ما احب، ويا دوبك نطبخ وناكل ونتزوج ونلبس ونقلع. هذا اللي كنت فاكراه.
واللي وجهك بقى كان هو ايه؟
اللي وجهني غير كده مسؤوليه. يعني يا دوبك قعدتهم معايا 3-4 ايام وابتدى يروح الشغل. الشغل بتاعه كان طول النهار، يعني يروح الصبح يجي بالليل. بصيت لقيت الدنيا ضاقت بيا، طب يا ربي مش هي ده اللي انا كنت عايزاه. بس فكنت متضايقه برضه. ليه يعني اوامر مثلا كان الاكل انحدق شويه يعمل خناقه لرب السما، اني كلمت حد من جيراننا يعمل خناقه لرب السما فصدمت يعني.
وزي ما تقولي لما يعامل المرأة كأنها مرأة، يعني زي ما قلتك يعني ايه بالظبط كده؟
يعني تطيع الأوامر بس.
My brother Mustafa has taken over as a head of the family since my father's death.
هي عارفه انه يقول لها خدي بيضه، هي انا عايز اكل من ده.
مش عايزه البيضه في عندك. انت بيضه عليا تاكل كل الشاي وانت وين عليك.
خذ بيضه يلا. امسك بقى. امسك. كل بقى. كل يلا. كل يلا. اسمع الكلام. كل يلا. كل بيض. تعيطش. ما تعيطش. عيب كده. كل يلا. طيب بقى. طيب يا حبيبي. ماشي. لا ما تعيطش، عيب كده. عيب. كل يلا. أقوى وجع مني. كل يلا. كل يلا. طب الحسن. كل البيت. طلع كتير مع بعض. شوف الطرحة دي.
يعني مش كتير نحس نحط طرحنا على السرير.
الطرحة نور على السرير.
ما صرت أحب
مطر.
نجي لها فيلم الأسبوع على طول.
I don't know why, I don't know if any of you have had the same experience, but adults seem to want children to eat things they don't like. So he knew that the little boy didn't like eggs, so he was always trying to get him to eat eggs. And my dad was always trying to get me to eat bacon. And I hate bacon, and I'd go around with it in my hand, same thing. So, but I think it's, for me, what was interesting is the way that the mother, in a way you're seeing it through the mother's eyes, because she's now completely sidelined by the son. So she has no say in any of it, and also the daughter. But sometimes people think that that it was worse because we were there, but actually if we hadn't been there, he would have hit him. And you can see when he goes to, the little boy goes like that, but he's actually pretending to be nice to him, but he usually would have hit him if we hadn't been there. So, or if, I don't mean filming, I mean if his sister was there, because he knew she didn't like him hitting the children. If nobody wants, I can show you another little clip, which is a similar thing, because it's showing this thing that fascinates me about how you have a scene which is going on as if you weren't there, but that the weaker people often have more power in it, because somehow they use the film, like Mother did. She used the film to talk about her life. She would never have talked to Safra in that way. So you're changing it and yet you're not changing it. I find that really interesting. And the second scene is a film that I made in Japan called Shinjuku Boys. And it's about these very beautiful young men who are, they're women who are living as men. And they work in a kind of bar. And women go there to fall in love with these perfect men. And so Gaish was my favourite character, and he had lots and lots of girlfriends. And one night he said, "Will you come and film me on a date? I'm going on a date later. Will you come and film me on a date?" And of course, you know, I said, "Oh yes," you know, it was just what you want, somebody to ask you to do something. So I said, "Oh yes." And then I said, I was a bit suspicious. I said, "Why do you want me to film you on a date, Gaish?" And he said, "Well, I think she's going to split up with me, because a lot of her friends aren't very happy with her going out with me, and they're trying to stop it. So, but I think if I'm there with a film crew, I'll pretend." And he was, when we were there, he was sort of treating us like, "Oh, come on, the film crew," sort of thing, you know. He said, "If the film crew are there, then maybe she won't split up with me, but I know she's thinking of doing it tonight." But the other thing that was very strange was, because we were filming, the girl who was usually in a situation with him where he was the tough guy and she was the sweet girl, took control of the situation in a completely different way. So it didn't work out at all what he expected, but they both kind of got what they wanted out of the situation. You'll see how it changes. So, Tomasz, it's just the second one, and Christina, we can have the lights. I'll just quickly go down before she turns the lights.
Gaish meets regular customers outside the club. すごいなんかね、すごいなんでこんなにね、いい時と悪い時の差があるのかなっていうぐらいです。
でも多少は気が紛れるでしょ。
そうだね。
散々俺にいじめられるから頑張らなきゃって気にならない？
でもね、言っていいのかな。
何？
若い人に関しては友達のある一部でそういう遊びに行ってるとかっていう感じで知ってる子がいるの。もう何？行くのやめなって言われたの。
だからそれはさ、人がなんて言おうとね、それは行動するのはね、お前なんだから、それは自分で決めなきゃ。ほら、俺いろいろお客さんいるじゃんね、いっぱいお客さんいるじゃない。でもね、そういうお客さんたちの、俺短い付き合いはしてないんだ、お客さんと。その人が将来どういう風になっていくのかなっていうのは、俺は自分のお客さんはみんな好きだからそう、みんな心配なきゃ。いや、これでまた会ってなかったら気にするかもしれない。
下北沢、下北沢です。急行新宿行き準急綾瀬行きと
一応男って思ってんだよね。思ってる？自分のこと。なんて思ってんの？自分のこと。
俺？なんとも思ってない。俺は俺だからって考え。別にそんな気にしない、何にも。別にだから女の子だとも思わないし、男だとも思わない。俺は別に。
君は男だった方が良かったんじゃないかと思うね。あまりにも性格が悪いからこれで女の子だったらさ、もうめちゃくちゃさ嫌われ者だよきっと。そういう状態だからまあ許せるよね。
お鍋でもいろんな人いるけどさ、別に男になりたいわけじゃないから。俺は自分が好きなように生きているのが好きだから、で俺がわざと女の子っぽくしたらそれは俺が無理だし、注射打ったりしてさ、男の子になっても俺に、
でもそういうのが好きだね、私はね。注射とか打たないっていうのが。俺は打ったら嫌だよ、私は。
俺も自分
さようならみたいな。
まあ中間的だよねって言われる分には平気。
女の子だよねって言われて嫌だよね。
それはね、やっぱイメージがあるじゃん、自分の頭の中で。女の子っていうのはなんかすごいさ、か弱くてみたいなのがあるからさ、なんか、
そういう風に見られるのが嫌なんだ。どうして？
どうして？それはだから精神的な面で女の子じゃないじゃん別に。
そういう自分ってなんかすごい不思議に思わなかった？
俺は思わないんだよね。なんか気づいたらこうなってたって感じだよね。だから俺は全然自分が不思議じゃないの。こういうふうに育ってきたんだから、当たり前なんだなと思う。で別にその女の子になったから別に後悔しないし、俺は全然俺みたいな人は不思議じゃないんだもん。なんでこうなったんだろうな。
Does anyone want to say anything or ask anything? I've got lots of clips, so you don't have to. But it'd be nice to... Oh, good. Andrea.
Actually, I know something that relates to both of those clips. The question of simplicity in the best way. I think your films are extraordinary because you create a sense of partiality for the characters, so you open the space for them to express themselves. And there's also, I feel, a lot of love for the characters. And all films, I guess, are most. How difficult is it for you to describe yourself afterwards? I mean, you create these beautiful scenes, and I guess in all of the films, they are very intimate, even though they might be in a public place, but you see that there is a connection between protagonist and camera, meaning you. But how do you deal with that intimacy?
I suppose, yes. I think I'm probably like all of us, you know, when you go somewhere and you meet somebody new, you tend to go with the people that you get on with. So Gaish and I liked him straight away. We had an immediate link together, and we'd had very similar experiences about our families. Neither of us got on with our parents, and he was very upset about that that his parents had sort of disowned him. And I think it's just like, if I like somebody, I want to have them in the film, and he found me and I found him. It was a completely mutual thing. And I think what was interesting about that girl was that all their relationship before, up till that point, it had been very much him bossing her around and saying, pull yourself together. He's acting what he thinks a man is. So he's being very much like his father. He's trying to be like his father. You don't show your feelings, you're quite rude, you know, all of those things. And yet he let his mask drop at the end. He let his insecurity show through, so that she's asking him very personal questions, a bit like Safa does with her mother. And because we're filming, he sort of goes along with it. It becomes a safe place. It's a safe place that they've all made. So Safa made it with her mum, and then he made it with his girlfriend. So they've kind of made the safe place that we can just be part of. And in a way they're aware of us, but they're not aware of us. They go in and out of being aware of us. So it's a very strange situation where we're all aware. I mean, it was a tiny room. His whole room was the size of this bit of stage. And I was kneeling on the floor like this, just really close, like as close as she is. So so obviously they know we're there. But because this thing's happening that they're both very involved in, they can forget we're there. It's kind of a strange, rather magical thing that happens, even in a very small space. I don't really understand it, but it does seem to keep happening. I don't understand why. I think in a way, as long as I don't move, if I started moving around, it would break the spell. But I think because what's happening between them is so much more interesting than what I'm doing, because I'm just staying still, then they're able to be in their world and not in mine.
Can I have a question now?
Yes.
Consequently, please.
I'm meant to get this.
And I was imagining how much is important. I mean, how much it counts that the factor that probably you don't know the language in this moment, and but from the images, it's like you are pretty aware of how you are filming them. So even though you don't know the content of what they are exactly saying. So no, I was curious.
That's interesting. Because I knew that Gaish was seeing this girlfriend, and because I knew that he was worried she was going to split up, when they were having the meal, I knew not to film the beginning bit, and then when she goes, oh, when she's like that, I know to film that. And then I knew to film on when they were on the train, it made me smile because he can't say, you know, I really don't want to split up or anything. He goes, oh, I'd be very upset if we split up. He's still being quite cool. And she's kind of, wow, he said that. That's like him saying he loves her. It's the most, emotional thing he's ever said to her. So you can see she's kind of amazed. She didn't say another thing the whole journey. And then when we got to the bedroom, I knew then that she was going to say, I want to leave or not to leave. So I knew there was a lot of tension between them. And then when she started asking him questions, I thought, wow, I could feel that everything had changed. So I knew to film that little situation. But also, I'm kneeling on the ground, and my friend who speaks Japanese is kneeling next to me, and she tells me when to film and when to stop. But because that was kind of interesting, we just filmed the whole of that. That was what you see there is almost exactly what happened. It was like a 3-minute little conversation. And then I could tell they wanted us to leave, and he was going, okay, goodbye now, Kim, because she'd got what he wanted. She got him to open up and be a different kind of boyfriend, be a kinder boyfriend. And he got what he wanted, which was that she wasn't going to split up with him. So they were very pleased with us. So Anyone? I can show you another clip. I'm doing them in order just because it's easier for Tomasz. This is a film, it's actually they're in funny order because Dreamgirls I filmed before this one, and I met Gaish because of doing Dreamgirls. And it's another Japanese film, and it's about a Japanese theatre group. I kind of fell in love with Japan, really, and the strangeness of this very advanced country, technologically, that had all these rather old traditions that were holding women back. So, I mean, I remember saying to Gaish, look, if you lived in London now, you know, you'd just be able to live with a girl, and it wouldn't matter if you wouldn't have to be onabe, you could just be whatever you wanted. You wouldn't have to be this tough guy all the time. You could just be yourself. And it was like a dream for him, really. So this is, the reason I like this place, which is called Takarazuka, it's young women acting being men, and women would go from all over Japan, women would go to give them love letters. I mean, it's an extraordinary phenomenon, and a lot of the women that most of the women that go to the theatre are straight. They're housewives, and they've got kids at home, and they go in secret. So it's a kind of weird thing again. It's like something that's allowed to go on underneath the surface in secret. So you'll see it. I thought it'd be quite nice for you to see Takarazuka. It's a theatre.
Keaki Mori, a top star of Japan's all-women Takarazuka theatre, is retiring. Thousands of her women fans have come to say goodbye.
そうなんです。舞台見てる間だけは娘とは思えなかったらしくて、これからは娘になるんだってなんか手を叩いて喜んでました。これからの自分は想像できます？全然できません。きっともう一度生まれても宝塚に入りたいと 100% 思ってます。はい。
The Takarazuka stars are created by the company's own music school. Thousands of hopefuls from all over Japan apply to get in each year, but only 40 girls are accepted.
合格された方は交差票を持って受付までお越しください。
掃除分担はご苦労さんでした。おかげさまで本科生の皆さんが、掃除をちゃんとやってもらったということは皆さんが認めていることです。それで予科生にも十分分担について引き継ぎが終わったことと思いますけど、これから1年間予科生の皆さんが次の予科生に引き継ぐまでは責任を持ってやることになりますから、本科生の皆さんがよくやってもらったように予科生の皆さんもよくやってもらうように期待しております。
Term begins with the second years passing on their knowledge of the school's cleaning techniques to the new first years.
I was fascinated by the Takarazuka school because it's really strange. Wherever I go, everything's very much like what I experienced. So that was very much like we had to do things like that at my school. We had to cut the grass with nail scissors and weird things that were stupid things, but it's all about teaching you to obey authority. And I mean, it's so strange because that's a dance school, and he's saying you've done very good cleaning duties. So mine was meant to be a boarding school, but all we were taught was just to obey authority and do, no matter how mad it was what you were asked to do, you had to do it. So and it's all about breaking your spirit in a way, breaking your autonomy. So so I was fascinated by that, and I often think wherever you go, you always find things that make sense to you and that you can relate to. And that school very much related to me. And I knew how to keep out of trouble as well. I knew how to keep well away from the headmaster so he wouldn't stop us filming. So, and keep thanking him for letting us film. Does anyone want to ask anything or say anything? But you don't need to. I can just keep showing you clips. But or we could show different clips, or I'm just sort of going chronologically through from the very old films to the new ones, but I can show some new ones. But I think the next one is Divorce. I don't know if anyone's seen Divorce Iranian Style, and it's it was the last film I did with voiceover. You can probably tell that in those films there's a voiceover telling you things, information. And Divorce Iranian Style was the last film that we did that in. And the reason we put voiceover on it was because Ziba, who I made it with, who's Iranian, she said it's really important that people know how bad it is to get divorced in Iran. It's a really, really big deal. And the women that come to the divorce court are really, really brave. So we have to say at the beginning that divorce is frowned on. It's a very bad thing to do. And then we also, when we were thinking about what kind of judge to choose, I didn't want a judge like Ayatollah Khomeini, you know, a really wicked judge. I was much more interested in a judge who would be conflicted, who would be confused by the kind of things he had to say to people, because he had to obey the law, but at the same time, the more he got into the law, the more he was disturbed by it. So it caused him a lot of pain, the verdicts he had to give, and I thought that was much more interesting than somebody that would just give a verdict. So we said at the beginning, Judge Deldar invited us into the court, but I think it's quite clear that he's happy with us being there, because he sort of nods at us and says hello. So, and this is like a self-contained little story at the very beginning of the film, and this scene it kind of represents the past. This woman's been in a situation for 30 years and has never thought to change it, and she's now desperate. And the judge, you can see he's living in a different world as well. He's from the past, and he doesn't quite know how to deal with her. So she'll say something, and he'll just say, you know, you've got to make yourself pretty. It's so bizarre. I find it quite funny, but in a painful way. So this is the beginning of Divorce Iranian Style.
The male role players get hundreds of love letters from their fans who come from all over Japan to deliver them.
一言が聞きたいがために5、6時間は待つそう何時間でも待ってる。でも普通の男の人には待てない。あとプレゼントもどんどんしちゃうし、会うたんびにプレゼント何か買って喜んでありがとうって言ってくれるのを楽しみにプレゼント持ってちゃうけど、普通の男の人にはできない。そう、隣に歩いてるだけで幸せなんですよ。一緒に歩いてるだけで幸せなんですよ。
喋らなくても隣にあそこにいるんだったら、
そういるんだって思うだけで周りの空気が違うんです。
これ中土入れてあるので、そうお願いします。あとこれフランスパン食べてください。じゃあいってらっしゃい。よかった。
It was on. Sorry about that. So it's the next clip. Yeah. So if you can keep going.
Judge Deldar is a cleric, an expert in Islamic law. This is a family court dealing only with marital disputes and divorce. Judge Deldar allowed us to film in his court and made us welcome. The court is informal and we were often drawn into the proceedings. A husband has the legal right to divorce, but he must get a court order and pay his wife compensation. The court disapproves of divorce and assumes that women want to stay in their marriages.
پس شما خودتون واقف به مبعوض بودن طلاق هستید، چون ایشون مایل بودن به این مطلب تقاضای طلاق بدن. ولی امکان توافق هم داره که شما با هم زندگی کنید، فرزندهای بزرگ دارین. اصلا اختلاف شما سر چی هست؟
اصلا معلوم نیست. من فکر کنم این اصلا مریضه. چون اصلا از روز ازل اول این بحث
اختلاف اصلی ندارید. فرزندهای بزرگ
شکایت ما کردیم.
وظایفتون
ببینید آقا اجازه بدید. این آقا رفتن کلانتری از دست من شکایت کردن و اونجا اعلام کردن که خانم من اونجا نوشته است با کسایی که من راضی نیستم و به آقای به نام ناصر بخشی رابطه تلفنی دارن. مأمور اومد تو خونه ما، پسرای من سر سفره نهار نشسته بودیم، شاهدم. مأمور اومد به من گفت خانم شما با آقای بخشی رابطه تلفنی داری؟ گفتم بله. گفت چه نوع رابطه‌ای؟ گفتم رابطه یه خواهرزاده با داییش. اصلا مأمور همینجوری موند. گفت شوهر شما دیوونه است که اومده اونجا توی انظار مطرح می‌کنه خانم من تلفنی رابطه داره با یه همچین آقایی. و دایی من رفته
از قبول داره این حرف رو؟
هستش پروندهش هستش.
البته کلش نیست ولی اون برنده که ایشون اعتراف کرده. ایشون
بله گفتم من رابطه تلفنی دارم. دروغ میگم. اینم من حاضرم قسم بخورم.
اصلا ایشون اعتراف
ایشون اصلا قسم بخورم.
ایشون اصلا اعتراف کرده.
من به مدت 30 سال خونه این آقا زندگی کردم، حتی یک بار بدون اجازه از خونه بیرون نرفتم. و اون چیزی که راجع به تلقین و راجع به وظایف شرعی منم نوشته، من حتی یک بارم خلاف نکردم. این آقا تمام زندگی رو به من جهنم کرده. یعنی من تو خونه حتی اختیاری که با بچه خودم حرف بزنم ندارم. یعنی اینقدر
این رو با رفتار خوبتون میتونید تغییر بدید و به عکسش.
نمیشه. من الان 30 سال دارم تحمل میکنم و دارم هی به خواسته هاش توجه میکنم که شاید متوجه بشه که من قصدم زندگی کردنه، ولی این آقا اصلا متوجه نمیشه. یعنی اون چیزی که من بهش محبت میکنم اینا رو جزو وظایف من میذاره و توقعش بالاتر میره. ببینید آقا تلفن تو خونه ما هست ولی من حق برداشتن تلفن رو ندارم. اگه 100 تا زنگ بزنه من بغل تلفن نشستم ولی حق ندارم تلفن رو بردارم.
زن بعد از مرد خوب اختیاردار خانه هست.
به من میگه که این اسلامی که تو میگی اگر بهت بگم حقت چیه دلزه ولزه در میاد. میگم چرا؟ میگه تو در حد این که نمیری از گشنگی غذا باید من بهت بدم، نفقه تو همینه، شکم تو لباست،
همون خدا بزنه کمر آدم دروغ.
و شما رفتارتون رو جوری بکنید که موجبات رجوع فراهم بشه، ایشون جذب بشه، رجوع بکنن به شما و به هر حال یه جوری باشد که رفتارتون و خودتون رو، چون که رجوع با طلاق رجعی هست، طلاق خلعی که نیست، طلاق رجعی اگر ثابت شد ایشون حقوق شما رو داد، طلاق رجعی داد شما رو، اون وقت شما باید رفتارتون رو جوری بکنید در خانه برای شوهر میتونید آرایش بکنید به جوری که ایشون جذب بشه و این طلاق انجام نشه. شما باید یه کاری بکنید که ایشون جذب بشه در زندگی و از این طلاقش منصرف بشه. حالا داورهای شما، بله داورهای شما نظر میده، به هر حال حتی امکان شما رو به سازش میرسونن. این برای این است که اگر اونها نظرشون بر متارکه شما انجام شد، تازه بعد از طلاق هم که صیغش جاری شد 3 ماه و 10 روز رو در یک منزل با هم باید شما زندگی بکنید. نمیشه دیگه، چون طلاق رجعی است، باید با هم باشید. اگر شما نخواسته باشید طلاق خلعی میتونید بگیرید که از هم جدا بشید. طلاق خلعی حقوقتون همش از بین نمیره، 500 تومانش 1000 تومانش میبخشید، این میشه طلاق خلعی. همش که لازم نیست بین ببرید. با 1000 تومان تو خونه این آقا گذاشتم، با 1000 تومان با 500 تومان میتونید شما بذل کنید و بعد طلاق خلعی دریافت کنید و اون وقت رجوع با شما میشه. اون دیگه مراحل بعدیش هست، هنوز اونجا نرسید، شاید هم اونجا نرسید. به سلامتی. بفرمایید. خدا.
It's very strange, isn't it? He keeps saying, make yourself attractive, and she keeps saying she doesn't want him, and he won't hear it, you know. But I find that very strange whenever I watch it. But I don't know what you think about the voiceover, because to me now it seems like everything that we say at the beginning is so obvious, but I don't know, sometimes people say they like having the voiceover, it's like a friend walking them through something, and then other people say they don't like it because they prefer to find out things for themselves, so I don't know, but we haven't used voiceover since that film. Does anyone want to ask anything about divorce? Oh, Andrea, I'll give you this so that you can hear her.
It's just a question. Did you ever crack up during filming or react to something that unfolded in front of your camera? I mean, this is obviously quite desperate but also entertaining to watch, but you've also filmed stuff that's been very painful, I imagine, to witness. I'm not just talking about the circumcision thing, but Gaia Girls, for example, when the protagonist is beaten up so badly and denigrated. Has it ever happened to you that you know, kind of stepped in front of a camera or in any way stopped just being an observer?
I think I would do that if somebody's life was in danger or if I felt I could be helpful. But there's a scene later in this film where, which amuses me when I see it, because there's this man and he's married a 14-year-old girl. And she says to the judge, surely I was too young. He's, I think, 35, 40. And she says to the judge, surely I was too young to be married. I want to go back to school. And he's very embarrassed. And he looks at the law and he says, you can be married from 9. That's the law. So it starts really challenging him. And then the man who's married this girl, he looks, the little girl's called Zeba. And the woman I was making the film with is called Zeba. And he goes to Zeba. I'm the only son of my family, and this is so humiliating to me, and it's so difficult. And she comes back to him and says, serves you right for marrying a 14-year-old girl. She gives back, and you're not meant to do that. I remember, I didn't know, but I could see him going, oh, like that, being really shocked that she would say that, because she's a bit like Dutch people. She's incredibly honest. I mean, I love her for it. You know, she just said exactly what she thought. But I didn't know she'd said that till afterwards, and I said, Zeba, you can't say that, he could have stopped us filming. But she said, Kim, I can't restrain myself. And she would do that all the time. She would say things to people. So, I mean, in a way, I never told her off, you know, that was just the way it was, and I had to just accept it. So, and we only had one argument the whole time we were filming, and it was about asking people to do things again. Because I really, the idea of asking somebody to do things again is, I find it quite a disturbing thought, particularly if you're in someone's court and they're in charge. And because I wanted to film the judge leaving the court, And every time we would try and film him leaving, he'd come and talk to us because he really liked talking to us, or somebody would talk to him. And that morning we were in the car going to the court, and Zeba said, "Oh, for goodness sake, Kim, you're so pathetic." She just got in a bad mood with me. You know, she just said, "Why can't we just ask him to go out of the court and film it? It's so easy, it's not going to upset him." And I went, "Oh no, Zeba, I really don't want to ask him. I don't want him to be doing things for us. You know, it's got to be, we will get it, we will get it." And then actually I think it's the next clip. Yes. And so I can show you when that actually happened, when that morning, at the end of the session, and it was actually at the end of that, we were filming him leaving, and he did actually leave. And you can see what happened because we hadn't asked him to do it. There's a little girl in the court who kept asking to be in the film every morning. She'd go, "Kim, will you film me? I'm going to do something." And I said, "Parnis, no, we're not just going to film you. You know, I will film you if you're doing something interesting, but which you'd be really doing, but I'm not going to ask you to do anything." So anyway, she took her moment, and you'll see it in the next clip.
جناب آقای متهم نیامده است. ساکت. ساکت باشین. خانوم چرا اینقدر اعصاب خودتون رو خورد میکنین؟ عمامم بذارم لطفا. خب جناب متهم، اصلا خانمتون گناهی نکرده بود که شما این کارا رو میکنید. دو خانم ساکت نشسته بود، بعدش مطالعه میکرد. شما کدوم خانم اصلا نه با شما کاری میکرد، نه هیچی. که اون روزم خانم برای شما خیلی محبت کرده بود، براتون چایی آورده بود. اینا من از کجا میدونم؟ به خاطر اینکه دنبال تو اومدم و ناگهان این رو دیدم. این خیلی بده. ساکت. وقتی زنی که با احترام به شما قدم برداره و خوب باشه، چرا باید اینطوری باعث بی احترامی برای این زن مقایل باشیم؟ این یا کار درستی است؟ پس خودتون که میگین نیست، پس چرا این کارو میکنید؟ آیا این کار درسته؟
So she starts off pretending to be the judge, and then she becomes Parnis herself as the judge that she would be if she was a judge. And she weaves her own story into her game. So, I mean, I'm sure we've all done that as children. You start off your nurse or a doctor, and then you start talking about your family or the things that are troubling you. And so obviously the man in the scene is her father, because she suddenly says, "Oh, how do I know this?" And then she has to pretend that she's looked at it through the window, but it's actually that she's lived through this. And in a way, what she says to the husband is what Zibu said, I wish the judge had said to the first woman, when she's trying so hard, why do you treat her like this? Why can't you be respectful to her? And it's almost like Parnis is commenting on what she sees every day in the court. So, but she wouldn't have done that if we'd asked her to do it. If we'd asked her to do it, she would have been doing what she thought we wanted. So you can see at the beginning she's banging on the table. really wanting me to film her, making sure I'm filming, and then she goes into the little dream of her own life. And I think that sort of freedom people only get if they haven't been asked to do anything. That's my feeling anyway. But so Ziba didn't ask me to ask people to do anything again after that, so it was lucky. So, is anyone? Hi.
I was wondering about the thing you said about you never used voiceover after this. I mean, there's maybe not an either-or between observation and more reflection. I mean, we have a lot of films today, or in these times, called essay films, where you're bringing the audience a little closer to the kind of concept of the film. So I'm wondering why, in Pink Saris, for example, you are not using it either, are you? And never used it since. So, I mean, is that because you are afraid of being Eurocentric or something? I mean, putting another level? I mean, tell us a little about that decision, please.
I suppose what I'm trying to do, if I'm being honest, even though I never ask anyone to do anything and I never set anything up, I'm trying to make the experience of watching the films as close as possible to fiction, in the way that when you watch a fiction film, you're in the story and nothing is separating you from it. So nobody's telling you anything. You're seeing things happen in front of your eyes, and so I think that's what it is. It's just trying to so that the audience forgets about the filmmakers. At the same time, I don't think it's all very contradictory, because I wouldn't call myself an observational filmmaker, because I never say to people, don't look at the camera, because I don't like people bossing me around. I would never say to anyone, do this or do that. And I actually quite like it when people talk to me, because I think that's quite nice. If they decide they want to talk, I wouldn't say don't talk to me. So, but I suppose you would call that an interview. A bit like Mum in the first scene. That wasn't really an interview. We just sat there and Safa started talking to her and she started talking. And I loved that. And I love it when the woman in the court goes, he could hurt me, you know, and she's talking to us. I like it when they draw you in. There's another scene in Divorce Iranian style where a woman's pretending she wants to divorce her husband, but she's just teaching him a lesson because he doesn't come home at night and has got another girlfriend. And she comes, even in the middle of this act she's playing, saying she wants to divorce him, she comes up to the camera and she whispers, I love him really, I don't really want to divorce him. I buy him nuts when he's watching TV and I really love him. And she tells this little story, and in the background the divorce proceedings are sort of going on. So it's kind of interesting, it's a little confession to the camera. And I loved it. I didn't, you know, and that's not observational. I don't know what that is. It's something, it's kind of mad, really. But she was whispering the truth of what she was doing to us. She wanted us to know what she was doing.
If you had a film with not so many people talking, would you reconsider using a voiceover? Kind of more poetic?
I mean, I wouldn't say that anything is, you know, I think the whole point of rules is that we can break them. I would never say we mustn't have voiceover or say we must have it, you know. I think it's whatever makes the audience feel comfortable and makes them feel that they know what they're watching in a way. Actually, I can show you something. If we go to the second one, you know, with the little windows, I can show you a scene which is quite interesting, really, because it's a South African film, and this woman's been called out to an emergency because something's happened, and it's the house of a friend of hers, and I'm alone in the room with her, and if I'd said to her, Jackie, pretend I'm not there, don't talk to me, it would be very weird, I think. I think that whole thing that, you know, the strict observational, I don't know, you know, you're meant to pretend the person isn't there. It's this whole silly thing of fly on the wall, you know. I don't want to be a fly anyway, but this idea that you're not there. But if you're alone in the room with someone, I quite like it when they're thinking aloud, which they wouldn't do if they were on their own, because then they'd feel mad. But she's talking aloud, but she's really talking to herself. So if they come up to, oh, it's this one, I'll show you, it's the one, you know, oh yeah, it's this one. Yeah? Thank you. So they've been called out to an emergency, and I get left with her in a room, and you can see it's the opposite of observational. I don't know what it is. It's kind of a bit strange, but it's very comforting for her that I'm there, because she's got somebody to talk to. You'll see.
This way the robbery was.
Oh, Shane. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Okay, ballistics has been here. Just see if we don't tamper with anything. Oh, Shane, Shane. Oh, the poor kids. The guy had good blood clotting qualities, which ought to save him a bit.
Kingsway Hospital won 50,000 rand deposit. We don't have 50,000 rand deposit. So we're going to try and see if we can transfer him to McCord's.
How much is McCord's?
3,000.
Okay, I've got 3,000.
No,
in my
his
bank
sister's
account.
she took 20,000 rand loan now to put him in Kingsway, but it's going to cost her about 150,000 rand in Kingsway. So we're going to, she said I must just get bank details, she'll transfer all the cash into my account.
Because I've got cash if you need cash. Is he okay? Tell me about him.
He's on drips, but he's a little whitish, and he's in this other hospital that's very dirty. My auntie's gonna try to transfer him back to Kingsway.
Yeah, we're going to help him try and do that. Okay. Right. Are you scared?
Yes, because they got the house keys. They got the house keys.
Well, we've got the guys here. We're changing everything. How's that? And what will happen is we'll get the house keys and everything changed, okay?
Because they got their own thing.
Do you want a cup of tea or something? Oh, sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I've got a beautiful lady called Hanukkah. She's a psychologist.
Yeah, that's one.
And I'd like you to talk to her. What do you think?
Yeah, no, the code is everything is sorted out.
Okay. And how's your mom?
My mom's fine. She's with my daddy, and my sister's with my daddy as well.
Okay, we're just cleaning everything up, okay? Do you mind? What we're going to do is we're going to clean everything up and we're going to do your laundry for you. How's that? So you don't have to do it. How's that? Hey? Shame, my baby, you're being so brave, hey? You're so brave. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. That's my sister. She opened her eyes. This time when they broke in, I was sleeping, and then I heard fire shots, and my daddy was going outside, and then my daddy wanted to come in there by the passage, and they come and they shoot at my daddy, and he took his gun. And he tried to shoot one of them, I think, around about here, because then they pinned him down to the floor and they shot at him here and then the hand, my father, and then there was lots of blood on the floor.
And then one of them went over my daddy, and my mom tried to strangle him, but then he pushed her away, and he tried to shoot my mommy, but there was no gun, there was no bullets left in it.
God is good, eh? And your mum fought him?
Excuse me?
Your mum fought him?
Yeah.
So I quite like it that she was talking to me, saying ballistics have been here, and, just talking aloud, which I thought was quite nice, which is what you would do if there was someone else in there with you. But it wasn't like an interview, it was like her train of thought, really. So I think, in a way, in answer to your question, I don't think there should be any rules, really. That as soon as you start making rules, I think it limits what you can do. So I would never say I'll never use voiceover, but I just haven't since. So, because you could have had a voiceover there saying there's been a robbery in this house and Jackie's going there to help, but you've discovered that when you're watching it, and I prefer that rather than being told what it is at the beginning. I suppose if there's someone that's in the film and the person that's in the film is thinking about things, I quite like that. And they use that in a lot of fiction as well. Like Sunset Boulevard, they have the guy talking, thinking aloud about telling the story himself, that sort of idea. Yeah, I think that's really nice. That's the voice over the person in it. What I mean is the voice over the person making the film, who's detached from it, talking about the action. I find that, I'm trying not to do that, but I'll probably do it now in the next film now. Does anyone want to say anything else? Oh, somebody's waving. Good. Oh, it's Christina.
I can talk. I just wanted to ask you, how big is usually your crew?
Okay. The crew is usually me doing the camera, and then a sound recordist. And often, in fact, I could show you a scene now where, on that lot, where you really couldn't have done it without a sound recordist. It's Sisters-in-Law. It's the... if you put them up, I'll show you which one it is, because it'll come up. So it's yeah, no, it's not. It's none of those. Sorry, it's in the other one. Yeah, no, it's not those. But I mean, if you're in a court case or something, we could do it on the first one. I can show you which one it is. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm making it difficult for Tomasz. Yeah. So after that, the next one, because no, it's not the guy or girls. It's because if you're in a situation where it's this one, it's After the Day I'll Never Forget. It's oh no, they're all this. Okay, show that one. Yeah, the beginning, Sisters-in-Law, the beginning. That will be on here as well. That'll be all right. Because if you're in a big room and there's lots of people and they're all in different places, I can only if you have the a lot of my friends do sound on the camera, but it means you can only do a certain amount. But what Mary will do, she'd have a mic and she'll be on a boom, and she can reach to the end of the room, and then she can reach that person, and you can have a whole scene with 5 people talking, and you can get the sound of each one. Just the first Sisters-in-Law, this one here. Yes, yes. It's in both of them, actually. I can show you on the second one if you want as well. Sorry, that was my fault. Yeah, I can show you. It's this. Oh. Oh dear. Okay. Sisters in. Yeah, you can show that one. This one here. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a little scene, a little self-contained scene. And sometimes I notice that the films are very similar in that you have a little self-contained scene at the beginning of Sisters-in-Law that tells the whole story of what the film is about without voiceover. So you can see that I'm trying to take you into a world without telling you anything, and you're discovering a world without being told. So that also answers both your questions, because you'll see the sound. I could never have done it with the camera on the sound on the camera, because I'm having to reach right at the back of the room. And also it means if you have the sound on the camera, if I go to film one person, you're going to lose the sound that's at the other side of the room. Obviously, that's, so yeah. So it's this one. So it's introducing the place in a way, and what I'm trying to show you is what the court looks like, that this woman is very respected, and that she's a powerful woman without telling you. So instead of saying, the judge made us welcome, instead of saying, oh, Vera is the main judge in this court and she made us welcome and she's very powerful and everyone respects her, you don't say any of that. You're just hopefully learning it from yourself. So we could just show you this clip.
Hello. Morning, please. Legal department, come back. Just let me check your scar.
The man see like the woman see like that man. That's what she said. The woman wants to go back to her man's house.
The man said no. So you're making a complaint against your father for kidnapping your child. You, the father, how did that baby get to him? How did this speaking manage go for this man?
Well, it been before my hand as they been can't chop Xmas for my house.
Who can't chop Xmas?
My daughter with this small beginning.
Yes.
The papa been come, the father, Mr. Ngong himself, be come for check up whether, for can't see this is picking. So you know meet him mother too for
So now you carry the picking gi?
Well, as now he picking, madam, na anyway it been be so.
It is called kidnapping. It's not because she's a woman that she's not entitled to her child. Even her own father has confessed that she spent less than a week away and then he already planned a coup and called for you to come and take the child. No, that is not the way to behave. This man married this woman?
Yes, madam.
In which way?
Controversial, madam.
Which country tradition? Which country? Mbonge people.
Yes, madam.
The mommy can't make no door. I tell they say no, the way I see the condition for the house. I no feel dream on, I go pay money for my head. And my papa this, they will go for the daddy, I be deny, I say me I no go come. So to them, some people probably with the story, they say no, if when I see person go and I go give money for head, they say no go come for this marriage. That means say you no like it, they married. I deny for go madam, but the mommy they work out for they go give money for my people then. If you are the suffer so then they suffer me for the kind thing. Because me I be deny me say I don't tell me no five, I don't want tomorrow and I have to say go back daddy. They go for the work out go give money. As my father no be see me, they tell the money to the chop.
Yes, so after the dowry, did you join their hands together traditionally and say this is your wife from today henceforth?
Yes, madam.
You be carry this woman in hand so?
No, no been carry.
You call people, you put them inside this man in hand, say take na your woman this. So you did not do that, so they were not married. He merely came and gave you some money which you took.
Madam, the thing is, when as soon as he don't be with he don't born picking, it means na massa na.
No, listen, okay, you be mistaken. The born am out of wedlock because if mommy no get marriage certificate. You did not marry that lady.
Madam, when I saw this lady, okay,
Listen, I don't want long stories of a lightning flash
not like
in 1940.
Not 1940, ma'am.
Just tell me, did you go and marry this girl?
So I went straight to the family. I took this 80,000 francs. They gave me a bid that now that you have got a child, you should bring us a pig and some of those small things.
This your daughter has become a merchandise. The way you people play in the village, the way you play with women and children, that's what makes her his wife. 80,000 francs and some pig. All right, madam, tell me, what should I do to two of them?
Madam, for I don't want the problem.
You don't want any case?
Yes, madam. I want to make him only the picking.
You are sure that you can take care of this baby?
Yes, madam. Even if I want the picking, that's why food. That's why food for that. Or if they don't look crocodile.
What is he crying? For me, this child is for two of us. I don't say that I've owned the child. If he says
no, you were not entitled to custody. What you did was a very grievous offense. That's what you men do. You just harvest children all over the whole place without marrying the mothers. But don't do that again. If you have another daughter like this, don't do that again. Have you heard?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Go write your withdrawal and bring it.
Thank you, madam.
So you can see with the sound recordist that you can get what Vera's saying, and then you can get what the man's saying, and then you can get sometimes 2 or 3 voices very, very clearly at the same time. Obviously, I couldn't do that because she's mixing them. She's got a mic on the desk with the judge. She's got her boom mic to get the other people, and then I've got the camera mic. So we've got like 4 tracks which you need for that scene because you want to hear everybody's voice. So that's the kind of scene you couldn't film unless you had the sound recorders. Because often now that people say, "Oh, you don't need a sound recorder, why don't you just go and do it with the camera?" But I always think it's really important to have a sound recordist so that you can film in any situation.
You got stories all over the world. How you get to them? How you find them?
Well, sometimes they find me. The story you saw of the woman in the room with the blood on the floor, she came to London to meet me. She'd seen Sisters-in-Law, and they'd had lots of films made about them. They're from Durban in South Africa, and always people would try and interview the children, or they had really not liked it. So she came to London to meet me, and then I said, "Oh, well, I'll come and see." And I went there and I absolutely fell in love with this woman, Mildred, who became the main character. So that was lovely. It doesn't happen very often, but she asked me to make the film. Sisters-in-Law, I'd made a film before that in Africa, and I wanted to make another one in an English-speaking country. And I knew that Vera and there's another woman she works with called Beatrice, another judge, they both spoke English. So I thought that would be a really nice thing to be able to do. And you'll see, you know, the thing about talking, that after that scene, that was one of the very first scenes we filmed. And when Vera goes like that, you know, kiss her teeth, I said, "Oh, Vera, I really like the way you talk to that woman, because you said, what should I do with the two of them?" She looked at me as if to say, "What are you going on about? Be quiet," you know. She didn't want any encouragement. She didn't want to be talked to. So I knew that my place was just to be very quiet and just film. She really put me in my place, you know. So that was interesting, because I imagine that if somebody was making a film about me, I would love it if they encouraged me or said, "Oh, I like the way you did that," or, you know. But she didn't. She was so into her job, she didn't want any of that, which was actually very restful, you know, that she was doing her job, I was doing mine, and then that was it, you know.
How you cast your main characters
yes.
In your films? Because it's the same thing like in feature, because the character is very
central.
Yeah, and if his story is fascinating, but he's not a showman. He's not, you know, showing his feelings and his emotions. And his nuisance.
Right.
This is very difficult. How long you are with the character to be sure that this is the right person to be filmed.
Often people say, "Oh, I went there and I spent 3 months without the camera and got to know people and made friends with them and got their trust." And a lot of people say that, but that feels very weird to me. To be there without the camera and pretending you're their friend, and then you come in with the camera. I would always go with the camera and do the research as we're filming. So that scene actually at the beginning of Sisters-in-Law was one of the first things we filmed. But often, well, it's different for each film. With Shinjuku Boys, we went to this nightclub where they were all working, and we said to the woman who was running the nightclub, "We'd really love to make a film here." And she said, "Well, it's not up to me, it's up to the people that work here." So we had this big meeting, a bit like this, and I had to stand there and tell them why we wanted to make the film. And then she said, "Does anyone want to be in the film?" And nobody said anything, and then Gaish put his hand up, and I loved him for that, and then 2 others put their hands up. So it was very much their decision to be in the film, because it was a very brave thing to do, because through the film, as the film goes on, they really reveal themselves very, very intimately. That was, by the way, one of the reasons I wanted to film in Japan, because there's always this myth about Japanese people that they don't show their emotions. And all the films I've made in Japan have been with very emotional people. So, and I knew I wanted to, it's a kind of almost like it's a myth. There's a horrible word we have in English called inscrutable. I don't know if you have it in Czech, but it means you hide your feelings. And in a way, it's inferring that Japanese people are sneaky, that under the surface they're plotting your death or something. They preserve this great face. But probably because I filmed women in Japan, none of them do that. It's all out in the open immediately. So it was very easy to film them in Japan. I didn't find that at all, that they were inscrutable at all. So does anyone else want to ask?
I would like to know whether you always film yourself, or maybe you use sometimes a cameraman who is helping you. And whether you have ever used radio mics to avoid the boom that is visible and makes people behave in a slightly different way sometimes.
I think I always do the camera, because I wouldn't want, let's say if I was filming with Christina, I'd have to say, "Christina, can you film this?" I'd have to talk over it, and, it's so much easier. I can just do, it means there's fewer people as well. There's just me and a sound recorder, so just 2 people. And so when Jackie was looking at the blood, there was only me and then Mary at the back with her boom, so you can hear. I think the good thing about radio mics is, we had a little, in that scene you've just seen, there was a little radio mic on the desk of the judge in a pen holder, so it looked like a pen. So then you don't have to put the boom there. But I don't see any other way round. For example, in Divorce Iranian style, those people came in. You'd have had to put the radio mics on outside, and often things would happen that you weren't expecting. So I think you can put a radio mic on somebody you know that is going to be in the scene. But then the good thing about a boom is it means you're very flexible. But I do like radio mics, and I like the way you can put them in a fixed. There's a scene in the court in Sisters-in-Law, a big courtroom, which is why I was hoping to show you, where you've got a defendant like where he is, in a box, the witness box, and then you've got the prosecutor, and they're all really, really far away. And so we'd put the radio mics in the boxes that were far away, and then use the boom for all the other things. So it was a way of actually... And that's what's brilliant about a sound recorder. She had 5 pots, she calls them, and she was mixing her pots. So she's like, and also it's quite good because she's busy. Her eyes are always like that, so people don't talk to her; they talk to me. And I think sound recorders, they're my heroes. Really, they're very good at being sort of that you don't notice them. And I think it's because they're so intense on their sound. They're in their own little world, and so people don't get troubled by them at all.
I like to follow up these cameras, that you are really the cinematographer in your films. I mean, I was talking with Richard Leacock a long time ago, before he died. he was saying he was always having a camera. Also when he went to holidays, always having the camera ready. I mean, do you have this kind of close relationship with your camera that you see the world through the camera? And I mean, sometimes it's also difficult when you have a camera between you and the person you are filming, because you are disappearing, or where are you? I mean, this kind of thing. Can you elaborate a little on this situation?
I'm not at all. I'm probably the opposite of Leacock, because I don't really. The only reason I do the camera is not because I love the camera. It's because I wanted the filming to be as gentle as possible. I wanted it to be really gentle and quiet, so that we would never have to talk. So when we were in the court, in that room there, we would never talk in English, or we wouldn't disturb anything at all. And if I was a sort of director, I would have to intervene and say, oh, make sure you film, whatever they do. I don't really know what directors do in that situation. So, and I'm not very good at equipment, so I would learn one camera and how to use it, and then I would stick with that one. I wouldn't take it on holiday. I wouldn't really want to do that. I sometimes do things on the phone, but no, it's for me, making a film is an incredibly intense time, where you get very, very close in people's lives, and then you're never going to be that close again. So it's like a one-off thing, and then I go away and we make the film, and the film is a kind of tribute to them. You know, it's what I'm giving and they're giving me. Where it's like a transaction, really. But I'm not somebody that's in love with the camera at all. Not like him. No, it's completely opposite. She's giving you the mic.
Sorry. I met you some years ago here when you present your film from Africa. It was about raped women. And
the cheerful little tale.
Yeah. And I spoke to you after film, and you said I was filming it at 16 mil. Mm-hmm. And then time passed and the technologies changed. What kind of camera are you using now, or are you following this is business which is very quite a fast building new cameras, new models, new standards?
That is the last. Sisters-in-Law is the last film I made on film. And I was hanging on to film because I think I pretended it was because it looked better, but really it was because I knew how to work the film camera, and it was my camera, and I felt very comfortable with it. But that film taught me a lesson, because we gave the footage to this man who promised to get it through customs and that it wouldn't go through the X-ray. He was an ex-pilot. And we weren't really in mobile phone connection. And at the end of about 5 or 6 weeks, we heard back from the lab that it was all ruined. Everything we'd done was ruined. And I was absolutely heartbreaking. It was so awful to know that we had to start again. And I remember going into Vera the next morning and saying, Vera, when we can't do the film we were going to do. We met her through the other film we were making. And she said, all right, well, you better start tomorrow then. She was so cool about it. So that's when we started the film about her. It was meant to be a completely different film. But it taught me a lesson. It said there's too many variables. It was too difficult and if you're going to places like India or Africa, it's too dangerous to take film, because so many things can go wrong with it. It can be too hot, or, and now I'm in love with digital. I wouldn't go back to doing film. So.
I have one question. I think it's wonderful how you allow your characters to interact with you and the camera during the scene, and give them that space. I wonder if you've ever had to tell anyone to have a talk with them and tell them not to perform as much, because sometimes people feel that the filmmaker needs a performance. They're not. It's hard to get at. You came there to.
Yes, that sort of links up with the thing about the judge. If you never ask anyone to do anything, and for example, if let's say I'm with her and Christina's filming us and we're just like this, we'd be very aware of Christina because we're just like that. But if she says to me, Kim, I never liked you, and I go, really? Why didn't you like me? And we start having a really intense conversation, I'm going to forget about Christina filming us, because what's happening between us is much more interesting and heart-stopping than anything she's doing. And I notice that happens a lot in sisters-in-law, because people are fighting for their children or fighting for their lives. That girl wasn't at all doing anything for the camera because she was trying to get her child. She was interested in the child. And the same in Divorce Iranian Style, because that woman was really desperate to leave the husband. But then she appeals to us, but that's not a performance. It's more like, as a friend, she's saying, he might do that, don't you think? You know, it's much more as a friend, it's much more equal than a performance. I imagine, I don't know, that people would perform for you if they felt you wanted something from them. So, for example, with Gaish in the bedroom, he's much more shocked by his girlfriend of 5 years suddenly asking, "What do you think you're a man, or do you think you're a woman? What do you think you are?" She's never asked him that before, and you can tell. And he feels quite vulnerable about it. So he's lost his. You see, from the dinner to the night, he's completely lost his armour. From being the kind of tough guy, oh, I make you feel, don't I? I tell you to be strong, and no, I treat you badly, don't I? To being this very vulnerable woman, really, he becomes much. Or he's saying, I'm in between. I don't know what I am. I don't think I'm straight. You know, that he's becoming honest. That's nothing that I've done. It's what the woman, his girlfriend's done. So what I suppose how I would describe it would be, I try and create a space where people can be truthful to the people that they're with, and it's not for me, it's not about me. And the only thing I do, I try and be very, very still and very quiet. So you'll see in all the scenes, I'm in one position. You know, in the breakfast scene, it's all from one position, and then when the little boy goes to get the veil, I follow him out, and then I film from there, so that I can get the woman putting her veil on. But I'm only able to do that because he's made a movement. I wouldn't have done that unless he had left. It's a bit like it's a little stage and he's left, and that gives me the opportunity to leave myself and follow him back in and then stay still. So for me, it's different for everybody, you know, but for me, the key for me is to be as still as I can and not draw any attention to myself, that I'm not interesting. But then, obviously, when they're in a different language, I find myself trying to communicate with people. So I will be ridiculous and absurd at times, trying to make them understand what I feel, you know, but that's when we're not filming, you know. So if somebody says something, you know, I don't want them to think of me as being this separate person that doesn't care about them, because I do, you know. I said to Gaish after the next morning when I saw him, I rushed up to him and gave him a hug and said, "What happened with your girlfriend?" You know, I immediately wanted to know what happened, and he said, "Oh, Kim, she's still going out with me now. I did it, you know." So he was back in being, you know, Gaish again.
We have time for one last question.
Oh, God, it went very quickly. I've got so many more clips. Oh, we had to... Oh. Do we show another? I don't know if they'll allow us to. See, I'm very obedient. I went to boarding school. I always do what I'm told.
I want you to introduce more about how you do the research before, how you find the story, because you introduce a little bit of two cases, but like for the Japanese stories, how can you find that?
Okay, the first one, which was Dreamgirls, I don't know if you were here when I explained, Dreamgirls came first, and I loved the girls at Takarazuka. But what was interesting was that actually their lives outside Takarazuka were very, very straightforward. They lived very conventional lives. And there was one of the Takarazuka stars called Maya Miki, and he said to me, "Look, you want to go to Shinjuku, and you want to go to the new Marilyn Club and meet the people there." He said, "They're much braver than us. They live their lives as, you know, they live their lives as they want to." So that was when I heard about the Shinjuku boys, through Dreamgirls. And often a film will come out of another film that went, a completely different film will come out of a film done before. So, for example, Sisters-in-Law, Jackie saw it, and then she came to me and said, "Will you make a film about us?" Divorce Iranian Style was very different. It was because during the time we made that, there was a fatwa against Salman Rushdie. It was a long time ago. It's one of my very first films. And there was a fatwa against him for, he wrote this book that the government in in Iran didn't like, satanic verses, and they said they were going to kill him. And what I found so interesting that was the documentaries coming out of Iran were very angry documentaries. They were all about these people are fanatics, and look at how bad you've got these people that go on the streets and make women take their makeup on, and they have to wear chador and everything. And then these films were coming out of Iran, these fiction films by Panahi and Makhmalbaf and Kiarostami, very beautiful Iranian films which were very poetic, and they were saying quite explosive, serious things, but through children or through... So in a way, Parnis is saying things that the adults can't say in divorce. When she says, why do you treat her like that? Why? She's become a kind of spokesperson for what we can't say in a funny way. And so I looked for somebody to make that film with, and I met Ziba, and we plotted making that film together, and it took over 2 years to get the permission to make the film. We had to go to Iran several times and beg them to let us make the film. So it's different, each film, it has a different journey. But Japan, how that started, it was completely by chance. I'd watched a lot of Kurosawa films, and there's a kind of formality in them and a way that men and women interact. It's very sort of severe and formal, which I kind of liked. But you never really, the women never go, oh, I'm really fed up with this guy. He keeps going off. He's a samurai. What's he doing? You know, why is he not at home with his kids? You know, anything like that. You never see that. It's always very respectful to the men. And then I read an article in the newspaper about a woman called Hanayagi Genshu. And she was a woman who'd been brought up as a travelling player, and they slept in barns, and she was illiterate and very, very poor, and they were put on these little plays with her father. And there's this Iamoto system, which is the theatre system, where there's one person at the top and there's a hierarchy. And she stabbed the head of this dance school as a sort of protest against, because she was from such low birth, she was always overlooked and she would never get anywhere in the hierarchy. And they sent her to prison, and in prison she learnt to read and write, and she became a star when she left. And I thought, I really want to make this film. And all my Japanese friends said, oh, you can't film Hannah again, she'll kill you. She's an ex-prisoner, she's a convict, you know. And I had to get in touch with an English friend that lived in Tokyo to go and see her and ask her if we could make a film about her. So that was the beginning of my love affair with Japan.
Thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you.
Time flies.
Sorry I couldn't show you more. Thank you. Sorry I messed up.